Time to watch some Disc Golf Pro Tour. Missed another putt. Did Ezra Aderholt get even more chiseled this offseason? Whew. Paige Pierce looking absolutely fierce this season. Stoked she's found her passion again. Huh, Evelina's got this one. Oh. Bummer. Wait, is that guy's hand bleeding? Throwing prodigy, classic. 480 feet with a 7-speed fairway driver. Yeah, that seems attainable. What's up, YouTube fam? Robbie C here. Today marks the beginning of the 2023 Disc Golf Pro Tour season. Now, if you're very new to disc golf, there's a real chance that you didn't know that there's actually a pro side of disc golf. You could believe that it's a bunch of people running around in parks similar to yourself and that others might just be a lot better than you. But the reality is that this year alone, there are multiple people making over $1 million a year simply playing the game of disc golf. And because the weather can't always be as gorgeous as it is here today, or some of you in my more northern states find yourself trapped in due to weather conditions, you can often feel like I may not be able to improve because I can't get outside and practice. But I want to tell you that I believe there are a few things we can learn simply from watching pros play in disc golf, as well as a few things I think people try to learn from pro disc golf that aren't actually that helpful. So what can tuning into live coverage or even watching post-produced coverage like Joe Mess Pro help you out with? Let's dive into number one. I played disc golf for a few years before realizing that the names that are on some of these discs actually relate to players playing on the tour. For instance, this is an older disc, but in 2009, Avery Jenkins won the Disc Golf World Championships and is now a prominent course designer and has a lot of leadership within a disc golf company, Discmania Discs. Inside of Discmania, Kyle Klein is one of their more prominent players right now, and Simon Lizotte, who actually left Discmania for MVP. If a player has a name on a disc, that usually means they're of the professional variety, and as someone who believes we can learn from everyone, there's definitely something to be learned from watching them. With that qualification at the end, we'll talk about places you can watch them, but I want to give you the why and the what you should be looking for first. One of the first things I want you to notice when it comes to watching pro tour coverage or pros in general is routines. Whether they're on the tee box or the putting green, most of them have a pre-established routines, and it's going to look very similar what they're doing on every single putt or on every single tee shot. What this does is give them a grounding moment before they step into any situation, letting them realize that they've done this hundreds, if not thousands upon thousands of times. Whereas most amateur players are going to walk into a lot of putts being nervous about, oh man, what if I make this? Oh no, what if I shank this? Pros are going to step up to their putts with confidence or their tee shots with confidence, fall into their routine, run it back, which lets their body turn on the idea that, oh man, we've been here before, we've done this before, and drain the putt accordingly. Now, I don't think that it's worth copying a pro's routine down to the exact nitty-gritty timing, but looking at all the routines that are out there could very well give you a way to establish or ideas that you should look at on building your own routine. Routines include the following things. The best routines include the 3 common practices, and you can kind of work them however you want. The first is repeated physical movement. This can involve spinning the disc. This can involve a stutter step between the legs. Another part of the physical movements is steady breathing. If you keep your breath too tight, it's going to cause tension in the rest of the body, causing not fluid movements, but yanked movements, which is not a repeatable idea. All right, Win, you can stop literally anytime you want. That'd be great. Don't pick up, just stop. The second part of any good routine is going to be a mental cadence. This can be a counting mechanism such as 1, 2, and boop on your putt, or a line that you may say on the tee box such as pick your line and crush it. I'm not asking you to repeat this phrase over and over again, as that can lead to some anxiety within itself. Say it once, say it with confidence, and do the shot. And then the third is practice, doing that routine over and over again, making sure that you keep those variables and changes as close to the same as possible, so that when you're in a putt, whether you're from 15 feet, 20 feet, or 25 feet, or 45 feet, you can step into some of the same routine, which allows your body to then tone down the mental worry and lean into the practice because you put in the reps over and over again. Not just practicing that specific moment, but the routine that goes alongside of it. The second thing I want you to focus on is shot selection. The first event, Las Vegas, may not be the best example of this, as it's somewhat open and there can be just simply a lot of hyzers being thrown. But shot selection is looking at a hole or a layout in front of you and deciding, based on the strengths that I have and based on what the hole is asking, where do I meet in the middle of this Venn diagram to find the perfect shot that I should be looking for And you can even throw in like an extra bubble considering the conditions, like this wind that we're facing today. Looking at those two main factors of what is the hole presenting and what skill set do I have, when it comes to the pros, they're going to have a lot more shots in their repertoire than you may have as the newer player or the casual player. And that's okay, because it's not about just throwing this shot specifically, it's about looking at what the hole is asking and looking at what skills I have and meeting in the middle on those two options. Let's take a look at hole 13, for example. Coming in at 293 feet, I decided to film on a day where there are gusts up to 25 miles an hour worth of wind. If we were playing that silver basket that's over the water, I have a couple of shot options available to me. I can go with the backhand for a right-handed player, just throwing it through this main open wide gap and letting it fall in towards the basket. I can throw a straighter shot sort of right at it and either flirt with the right side of this growing green tree or try to split the uprights and land left of the basket. Or if I were like a lot of newer players and I was forehand dominant, because that forehand was allowing me to get more distance and more control on the disc a lot faster, I could look at just going over the yellow basket and then fading into the green. But I have to look at the skill set that I have available to me and make sure that I'm choosing the right line for what I can do. Especially in these winds, forehands with those distance drivers can get a lot trickier. So for me personally, I would be choosing the backhand through the big gap, because even if it holds straight, which is what could happen most likely in the wind if I pick the right disc, straight is still safe rather than turning it over or coming up short if I throw the forehand. Watching a Pro Tour card attack certain holes is going to open your mind up to asking the question, why are they throwing that shot? Some things to consider with shot selection are, is this shot repeatable? Does this shot take current conditions like wind into account? And third, what is this disc going to do when it lands? I would say a shot that pros throw a lot more often than amateurs is a slow panning turnover shot where the disc is going to be moving from left to right very casually. That's a high level shot that a lot of players struggle to handle. And most often for newer players, if you're right-handed and you need the shot to go left to right, we're just stepping up and throwing a forehand immediately. But thinking about shot selection and going to the backhand could cause the disc to come in and land more gently rather than the forehand that's going to come in and spike, making a harder angle, which could lead to a skip or a rollaway potential, whereas that backhand turnover is going to land gently and flat and nestle into the green. Was this the right disc? Yep, see? Straight is still good. We're safe. We're not gonna get a birdie, but we're not gonna be in the water. Now, shot selection leads naturally into the third thing, and I think one of the biggest mistakes people make when watching pro coverage takes us to disc selection. I have seen so many people who are, especially these like super confident, like, yeah, I just got into disc golf and I'm huge, bro. I'm about to throw these bombs all over the place. I'm not trying to stereotype, but like 100%, it's almost always males doing this. We think to ourselves that I'm a guy and I'm watching Pro Tour guys, therefore I need to look at what the guys are throwing and copy what's in their bag. Whew. That would have been cool. But let me be 100% transparent with you. I kind of have to put some caveats into this because, you know, this might offend some people, but it's the truth we all need to hear. I would say for 85% of players who are watching disc golf, you are better off trying to model your bag after an FPO player than you are any MPO player that's out there. This is not meant to downplay the FPO field, because 100%, if I were to have pretty much any player touring in the FBO field and choose between her as my doubles partner or most people that play in the MA1 field, whew, that's gonna rile up some feathers. I'm taking that FBO player all day because they have a lot more experience, most likely competing in clutch environments and knowing what it feels like that if they don't play well that day, that there is going to be a tough grab when it comes to getting money to live while on the tour. I would say for max distance, you're gonna need over 500 feet of distance, and for controllable distance, you're gonna need at least 450 feet of distance. If you had both of those and competent putting, I can almost guarantee you that you would be a dominant threat in your local professional division. However, if we head over to FPO, I would say max distance, you're needing about 375 to 400 feet of distance, and controllable distance, you can really do pretty well out there on the tour with only 350 feet of controlled distance. Now, once again, that's not trying to offend anyone, especially when I use the word only 350 feet of controlled distance. But just think about it this way. FPO players are reaching these numbers and they're using discs that are getting them to these numbers. MPO players are usually breaking discs or throwing them at faster rates in rotation with more power than most humans are ever going to put into the disc, which is allowing them to get these numbers. So yes, while it would be great to have these numbers available, most of us are never going to reach those numbers. And so modeling our bags after professionals who are getting it done, shooting for these numbers right here, is definitely the play and what we need to be doing when it comes to building our bags. Do not watch the MPO players thinking, I watched Simon throw this nitro all over the Las Vegas Challenge this weekend, so I guess I gotta go get a nitro. Yeah, much more gonna be looking at Madison Walker and saying, wow, she threw that rhythm super well. I think I'm gonna go get a rhythm instead. Wouldn't be a Robbie C video without a water break, you know what I'm saying? All right, fourth thing I would pay attention to is getting the UDisc app and following along for the statistics that are included inside of UDisc, because I think the statistics can help us understand what we really need to be focusing on and how to improve our game specifically. UDisc is a free app that you can get for your phone, and it goes along really well with the Pro Tour or live events, because what you can do is you can see people's percentages when it comes to putting. You can see their percentages when it comes to hitting the fairway. These are vastly important because you'll see that even the pros rarely end a tournament with 100% C1X putting. For those who are not familiar with what that means, C1X is the distance that's about 12 feet to 33 feet surrounding the basket. I think that also translates to like 3 to 10 meters or something like that. I have heard so many players talk about the putting woes that they have, and man, I wasn't 100% from C1. I need to make sure that I'm making 100% of my putts from like 25 feet and in. And yet, if we look at pros, while they do make 80 to 90% of their putts, even they are going to miss some putts. And when you watch Pro Tour coverage, you're going to see this happen over and over again. And what I want this to teach you is a little bit of forgiveness. I don't want you out here making excuses for yourself on, I could have scored better if I would have just done this, 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 and this, or, oh man, I would have a fantastic round if I would have made this putt or this putt or this putt. But understanding that you guys are not professionals, and really I'm only a professional because I had the $25 extra to pay to the PDGA. When something goes wrong on the course and we miss a putt or shank a drive, it can become one of three things. The first is that we can allow it to be a moment of frustration, which takes us to derailing all of the positive momentum that we've gained during the round. And we can highlight and stay focused on it for the rest of the round and ruin anything we could have ever wanted to get out of it. The second is that we can create it as a learning opportunity that we look to, not necessarily during the round, but we look at afterwards to see what could we have done differently. Takes me back to a Pro Tour moment. I think it was the Portland Open where Kevin Jones was in the lead or in contention for the lead going into, I believe, hole 16, and he ended up taking like a 7 or an 8 on the hole because he kept putting and he went OB, and then he'd make another putt and miss it, and then he'd roll away, and then he'd miss that putt. It was really hard to watch, but I think Kevin in that moment let it just kind of derail him and suffer, and it's been hard for him to get back in contention ever since. And it's really hard in the moment to let that become a learning moment later, which is why I think most players end up with option 3, which is we choose A and B. We get super frustrated in the moment and let it ruin our round, and then we try to learn from it later. I know I certainly have let that happen to me, but I'm trying to make sure that I start just choosing B, and I want you guys to do the same, because some of the best players that you see on tour, Calvin Heimer being one of them, seems to be an expert at this, and having a big rollaway turn into a huge putt or something like that, that he can step up, take it easy, take it cool, and start succeeding on the next hole. The fifth and final one is probably the most obscure and abstract of all of them, and I think that the best thing we can gain from watching Pro Tour coverage, or the final thing we can gain, is perspective. Like I said at the beginning of the video, there are multiple people in the sport making over $1 million a year to play this game, which means that they need to treat it like a job. They need to be practicing, they need to be trying to improve. Whereas we are just casuals trying to get out there and enjoy this sport, tossing frisbees in the park. But one of my favorite parts about the sport so far is that almost all of the pros that I've had the chance to meet in person have been super relatable, super approachable, as long as we approach them in the right context. In the middle of their round, while they're out there trying to work, because that's what this is for them, probably the best time to ask for signatures and things like that, or approach them with questions. But if you catch them in the right context, they can be absolutely fantastic to hang out with and fantastic to have a conversation with. So if you're stepping up to certain holes and wondering, man, I just have literally no idea how I'm supposed to ever get a birdie on this or how I'm supposed to ever par this. Understand that there are professionals out there who would probably make short work of it, and that gap gives us something to focus and improve on, or a goal to strive towards if you're that type of person. But if you're not that type of person and you're watching this video, yeah, I think it's also good, like I said, perspective for us to understand that, man, that's not me and it's never going to be me. So I'm just going to enjoy my distance and my chip shots and just play golf that I find brings me back to the course over and over again. It's a pretty nice shot. So that's going to wrap it up for today's video. Where can you find Pro Tour coverage if you're looking to get into it? Well, for $12 a month, you can, at the Disc Golf Network, get a subscription which gets you access to all of the live disc golf throughout the entire year. If you don't want to pay for the live, they're going to make the first round free of all major events this year on the Disc Golf Network or Disc Golf Pro Tour YouTube channel, so you can probably check that out later today. And if you don't have time to watch the live stream, you can always catch it post-produced over at channels like Jomez Pro, Gatekeeper Productions, Ace Run Pro, or some skins and fun matches that they're doing on GK Pro. If you've never scratched the itch of Pro Tour disc golf, congratulations. You're at all interested in it. I've just given you access to thousands upon thousands of hours of new footage for you to check out. One of my favorite events every year is Idlewild, but I want to know in the comments down below, which events are you looking forward to and what players are you looking to root for in the 2023 season? As always, I want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the week and that you can make it fantastic for someone else too. Super stoked for a new year, as it just means new possibilities and major things to happen within our sport. I'm gonna head back home, hop on the couch, and hopefully watch Calvin Heimberg tear it up at LVC this year. But for now, we're gonna leave you with the birdie.